Hello, can you hear me? Hello, everybody. So great to connect with all of you. For those of you who don't know who I am, my official name is Timothy Paul Duffy. You can call me Tim. Anyone who's calling me Timothy makes me think that I'm in trouble from my mother, but it's great to connect with all of you for this training. Just to let you know a little bit about my background, my passion and mission is to create conscious leaders with real world skills. That's why I created Elective Society. It's a 501c3 non-for-profit for all that purpose. I even have my own YouTube channel. I do some of these trainings. I give it away, which is crazy. Most professional speakers and trainers, they're like, no, I'll only show you a little video. But I'm like, no, if I can help serve and help more people learn what I've learned over the last couple of decades, then I definitely want to do so. I am a leadership trainer. I'm a life coach. I've been doing this for almost 2 decades now. My real claim to fame was really when I joined the team of the National Society of Leadership and Success. Some of you may be familiar with the organization. They're one of the largest leadership societies in the country. I actually started my own chapter at Queens College, City University of Newark. I'm a fellow CUNY, graduate, just like many of you are participating. I have a lot of love for the CUNY system. I actually established a chapter. I studied environmental science. I minored in business, but it was really in my college experience that I discovered leadership. I became an active student leader, one of the youngest student government presidents to serve in my college's history. Met the founder of the National Society of Leadership and Success, Gary Turek. We hit it off. I established my own leadership program there. Graduated, worked in government for a couple of years, but then I decided to work for NSLS for 12 years, and we helped grow that organization to become the largest leadership society in the country. I managed and coached over 600 people. I moved up throughout the ladder, the corporate ladder in the organization. Then on my volunteer time, I wanted to really up my leadership skills. So I actually participated with the different programs for Landmark Worldwide. Put in the chat if you're very familiar with the organization, but they have headquarters or they have different locations all around the country, all about transformational leadership development. And so I did their programs, I did their secondary programs, the 4-month leadership program. I ended up coaching the program. I ended up becoming the head coach to coach the coaches in the program. And the reason why I'm mentioning that to you, because that's really what honed my skills on coaching and management. And I really benefited so much. Some of the learnings that I learned from that leadership program is in this presentation. So let's just jump right in. So this presentation is all about how to delegate effectively and restore credibility when you screw up. So what is going to be the learning outcomes? Number one, we're going to have a discussion. I want to hear from some of you. You can show it in the chat. You can raise your hand. I'd love for you to say, why do people avoid delegation, right? Then I'm going to teach you the 5 steps of stewardship delegation. And where did I discover stewardship delegation? It's from the OG Stephen Covey, right? He wrote the book 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. I'm really curious if anybody in the chat has ever read that book or have heard about that book. I read it in college. It was so powerful. And then I reread it. And it's one of those books that I call it the PhD of leadership, because every time you read it, you learn more and more information. And so I'm going to teach you what I learned from his book about stewardship delegation. We're going to practice it. Each one of you is going to pretend like you're a manager and you have to delegate a task following stewardship delegation. So it really kind of sinks in. So this is not going to be just a training where you're just going to listen. I really want you to make the most value of it and apply what you're learning. And then the end of the presentation, we'll talk about what there are so many different leadership qualities, but I want to discuss what I believe in my research, what is the most important leadership quality. And we're going to discuss that in a much more depth. And then we're going to also conclude with how to restore your credibility when you screw up, right? When you make mistakes, especially if you're the one, being assigned a task from your manager and maybe you don't actually follow up and follow through. What kind of things can you do to make sure that it doesn't happen again? So let's jump right in. And I'm just reading some of the comments. Forgive me if I'm mispronouncing your name. Nadia, she has the teen version of the book. Priscilla has the book. That's awesome. So discussion time. Why do people hate delegating? So please put in the chat, raise your digital hand. I'd love to hear from you. Don't be shy. I see Nadia raise her hand. Excellent. Can we unmute her, Parsh, or can I just do it?
Yeah, you should be able to do it.
All right, go ahead. Am I pronouncing your name correctly? It's Nadia?
Yes.
Hi,
People,
Nadia.
hi, how are you?
Great, great. So why do people avoid delegating?
Because people are afraid that people lose control or that they can't do the task as well as that somebody else can't do the task as well as they can, that it won't
Exactly.
come out right.
Exactly. So what we're talking about here now is a little bit of control issues, right? It's like, and especially if you're a person that is committed to excellence, knowing that you know what to do and how to do it, why don't you just do it yourself and know that it's going to be done 100%. I'm also seeing some of the chats. They lack self-confidence. You have to trust another person to do the task. Everyone thinks they're an expert. It's faster to do it yourself. I think these are great comments. Priscilla said micromanage. They avoid tasks because they don't want to be responsible in case there's a failure, afraid of rejection or misperception, the fear of being responsible or feeling accountable, fear of not being able to deliver the activity, fallacy of saving time but not teaching others. I think that's an important point. Or the ego not wanting to teach. Don't want to overload their team. I know everybody seems to be a lot of overwhelm. Corporate world afraid to lose their job to lower paying staff. Wow, very, very perceptive. So, all great feedback and points. I would say if I were going to summarize four of them, here's what they would be. The first one is completion. How do I know that if I'm going to delegate a task that they're going to actually do it? How many times are people overwhelmed, overcommitted? You assign a task to somebody, whether it's a staff member, team member, and then right when it's done, you say, "Hey, did you do that task?" And they say, "Oh my goodness, I just had a relative pass away." You're like, "Oh my goodness," or something emergency just happened and I didn't do it. And you're just dying inside because you're like, "Well, why didn't you tell me?" You could have actually proactively reached out, and you start to develop trust issues in assigning different tasks to people. The second are my perfectionist folks. Raise your hand if you're a perfectionist in the room. Okay, I'll raise my hand. I'm a recovering perfectionist, and it's just so that you say, I fear that they'll do the task, but it won't be done in the right way or to my standards. Look, I just got goosebumps thinking about it. That must a lot of you probably feel that way as well. But that's not it. There's a lot more as well. Speed, yeah, we've talked about that. Some people send in the chat, I just want to get it done quickly, fast. Get it very done fast, quickly. The other thing is limited resources. What if I don't have enough money? What if I don't have enough staff members? What if I don't have my people? My people might be overwhelmed, and so I don't want to ask them to do another assignment. These are all valid concerns, but they shouldn't be limiting you in terms of delegation, because there are a lot of cons or consequences if you don't delegate. So this is what I like to picture: the person who starts out their career somewhere in their career. They're like very successful. They're individual contributors. They feel alive. They feel like an excellent executive leader, but they do everything all themselves. And yes, for all my cat loving people, I'm an animal lover. I love dogs. I love cats. I have both myself. My wife's a vet technician. This is an image of you, right? Guess what happens when you don't delegate? This is what you're going to start to look like. Okay. No offense to this beautiful hairless cat, but you could just see the difference between the two. That's what I don't want for you. All right. Now, I know that was a little bit silly, but let's talk about real stuff here. What are the consequences of not delegating? Is burnout and stress. We constantly put so much more tasks on our plate, and we don't have enough room on the plate. And if we were to delegate, guess what we would have? Much more energy, and we'd be a lot happier, right? The next thing is low performance. We're not going to perform at our highest level if we're doing everything. Just because the CEO of a company, the president of a non-profit, they tend to be the most competent. And even though they could do a lot of these jobs, they can't function an organization by doing it all themselves. They need to give the task to other people. Otherwise, they're not going to be able to perform at higher levels. And so, and I want to actually share with you a little story time right here. So even though I talked to you about my career, right? I was an active student leader. I graduated. I worked in government for several years. And then after I worked in government, I worked at the NSLS, the National Site Leadership and Success, for 12 years. I then left NSLS and worked in the entrepreneurial realm, because that's what they say, to be successful, you have to be an entrepreneur, but they don't teach you that 9 out of 10 businesses fail within the first couple years, right? And that if you actually make an organization that lasts over 10 years, they call it unicorns because that's how difficult it is, right? And so I was jumped into the entrepreneurial world. I was working with the CEO of different founders of different companies. And guess what? I really learned about this whole idea of delegation. And CEOs, even high performing individuals, are terrified of delegating tasks. And I had this one business partner. I'm not going to mention his name. I'm going to make it up. Just let's call him Tom. Okay. So Tom was like that, I would call him a workaholic martyr. I don't know if some of you guys identify that with yourselves, where it's like, I have to do it. I'm so busy. This is who I am. It's your almost your identity, right? And so he needed to do our website for a product or service. And I kept hounding him, hey, Tom, when are you going to put up this website? Right. And he's like, oh, we put up the website with WordPress or whatever. There's some issues. The next day, he met up with me and he's like, oh my goodness, Tim, I pulled an all nighter. I basically spent 10 hours working on WordPress, learning how to do it. And I actually uploaded the FAQ page. And I said, Tom, listen to me. You're the CEO or president of the organization. You cannot just be working all night on something as simple as a website for an FAQ, right? You could have been using those 10 hours to actually bring revenue to the company or organization. Why are you working on a website? You're not an expert at that website. You could have went to Fiverr or got somebody else who's an expert at WordPress to be able to handle that for you. All you need to do is tell them what you want and they could have done it. And I said, also, you have to evaluate your time. Like if you're a founder, CEO, or executive, what is your time worth? And I told him if you're valued at $100 an hour, $200 an hour, you spend 1,000 to 2,000 of your time on one page of a website. What are we talking about here? Right? When you could have actually paid somebody much smaller amount. So I just love this image of just because this individual can run doesn't mean that they're best at it, that you need to find the cheetahs that can run 70, 80 miles an hour and do what you can't so that you can actually perform at higher levels. Okay. Give me 1 second. Okay. Let's keep going. The next thing, consequences of not delegating, are the bottleneck. The micromanagers who here, I'm not going to make you raise your hand if you identify as a micromanager or a perfectionist. I can actually admit I was one. If you want to have control all the time and you need all your team members to check with you and approve everything, guess what? You become the bottleneck, right? And that's the worst thing, especially as organizations are quickly and adapting. And so, therefore, the positive consequence of delegating is you're going to be much more efficient, right? And we're going to talk about different ways to help avoid micromanagement with stewardship delegation. And then the last one, and this was mentioned in the chat. I don't know who mentioned it, but I love the comment. It's like you're afraid of actually training and developing leaders. What if you that other example, I was talking about with my friend Tom, a business partner who was doing a website. Now, that was an example where somebody else with better skill could be able to do it quicker and faster. But now let's flip the script. What if you are the best person to do it? What if you can actually do it the fastest and the quickest? Well, does that mean that you should do it? My answer is not always. Why? Because just because you can do it, you're not going to be able to duplicate your efforts. It's much more efficient, right? And it's much more, to duplicate yourself as a leader if you actually take a little bit extra time in the beginning and train somebody else who does have more time than you to actually how to do this task, because that will then leave time for anybody else. Okay. So that you can now work and provide. I'm all about leadership. So it's time for us to start delegating so that we can create future leaders so that they can actually get better at those skills just because we are the best at them. All right. So, okay, started going too far. So let's talk about stewardship delegation for a second. What are the benefits of stewardship delegation as found in this book, Seven Habits of Highly Effective People? The first one is we want to create ownership, right? We have to have the people who are delegating test feel that they are responsible for it, not that they're just the go for, meaning I just have to do whatever my team leader wants of me. Like, no, I get to own it because guess what happens when you own something? You have pride in it. Okay. The second thing that's so awesome about stewardship delegation is that it avoids micromanagement. That's the critical thing. You can micromanage somebody to death, but that's the worst thing that you could do because it loses the motivation. What if they have different ways of accomplishing that task that are quicker, faster, you've never even thought about before? When I was working at NSLS, part of my job was help to train students who wanted to bring leadership programs to their campus. And we were able to I hit goals, I exceeded metrics, but I was a perfectionist, right? And it was stifling the creativity of my team. And then once I actually took different leadership courses to help expand and see where my blind spots were, guess what happened? I then would tell my team, hey, team, this is what I think the goal is. This is how I would do it. But you let me know what you think, however you want to do it. And I humbled myself to say, try it a different way. Let's experiment, right? And I allowed a team member to do that. And guess what? Because of that mindset of delegating, being humble, that person ended up breaking my record for helping more students start leadership programs. So my mind was blown. Okay. I see Jacob a comment. I found that the rising generation think they know better and skip steps, not understanding the back end needs that they are not privy to. Wow. I think that's such a interesting comment. Thanks so much for sharing that, Jacob. I'm fascinated by the upcoming generation that's coming up right now, and it's constantly under analysis. I just listened to a famous business podcast called the All In Podcast, and there was a study that was quoted, and I'm going to go off on a little bit tangent on this, yeah, because Jacob mentioned it, and Parsh, shout out to Gen Z, is that there are behavioral traits, right? And they with come with respect to personality types. Like if you studied psychology, there's different personality types. I remember the acronym ECON, extroversion or introverts, agreeableness. C stands for conscientiousness, task oriented, being able to follow steps to duties, openness to experience, and neuroticism. And guess what they're finding over these studies? And I'm going to look at this study even more. The skill of conscientiousness has been declining in this generation. So that was shocking to me. We're talking about 10 percentage points differences. Hold on. And so what ends up happening is going to what Jacob's saying is that yes, they're the level of detail oriented. My whole purpose of this presentation is teaching those managers, those people who want to delegate, a little bit more conscientious skills on how to delegate more effectively. And I'm going to go into these 5 steps. Doing this is going to ensure that the team member, Generation Z, whoever, completes those issues. Oh, could you share the name of the podcast name? It was the All In Podcast. These are like Silicon Valley tech entrepreneurs. It was in the last weekly podcast where they showed a study and they flashed the screen about this generation and the different issues. Again, very, very fascinating. Okay, so let's jump into it. Okay, just the other benefits. Establishing trust. Trust is the highest, human form of motivation but it requires a lot of patience. And when if you're a team member and your boss says, Tim, I trust you, like there's no bigger compliment that makes you feel good that you've earned that trust, right? But what happens though, this whole training is like, yeah, but I don't trust people. They don't do what they're supposed to do. I have that fear of trust. Well, guess what? If you follow this format, this is going to help people develop trust, right? And give them that opportunity and look at step number 4 as a benefit. You're going to minimize failure. Now, notice how it doesn't say eliminate failure. It says minimize failure because people are going to fail. I'm sorry. We're not dealing with robots, and even robots can malfunction. We're dealing with people. So again, I don't expect that whenever I have a team and I've managed hundreds of people that you're going to be perfect. I just want you to be committed to consistent, continuous improvement. That's all I'm asking, right? And I have built systems in place to ensure that if people fail, it's okay as long as we learn from it. So, something that we're going to talk about here, how can I build in a system to make sure and allow them to fail, but still allow the job to get done? And the last one is allowing for training and development. So, I don't want to hold out anymore. I just want to go to the 5 steps of stewardship delegation. And Danielle, I love your comment. Failure is necessary for success, 100%. Okay, so here's the 5 steps of stewardship delegation: results, guidelines, resources, accountability, and consequences. Okay, now I'm going to go now through each one of these things, but whenever I delegate a task, I love, because I'm a teacher, I love teaching. I love taking all these concepts and breaking them down into simple ways so all of you can use it and they're tangible. So whenever you're dealing a task, you're like, okay, what did Tim say? I have to delegate this task, but follow the 5 steps of stewardship delegation. But how do I remember all those 5 things? Well, I created a little mnemonic device. Okay, wrappers give rhymes, attitude, and color. Forgive the corniness, but it's the only thing I could come up with those words. Okay, so you'll be find myself where I'm about to delegate a task. I'm like, okay, rappers give rhymes, attitude, and color. Let me write that down. The first R, rappers. Okay, results. Okay, got it. Give. Okay, that's G. Guidelines. Okay, rappers give rhymes. Oh, another R. Resources. Okay, A. Attitude, accountability, color, consequences. Okay, I hope you enjoyed that one. Okay, so here's what they are. The first time you're delegating something to somebody, you have to give them a clear picture of what is the result that we want to have here, right? It's clear, it's understanding. And so I'm going to use an example. If somebody was like an event planner, right? And that you're asking them to do some task related to the event. Hey, John. Hey, Jane. Hey, Mohammed. I'm asking you to be responsible for securing the giveaway or prizes for an event that's 8 weeks away, like 2 months away. All right, that's your task. We need you to get those prizes. It should be simple. I like it. Smart, specific, measured in time. Yes, for SMART goals, for all those you have it, right? Um, Next, results, guidelines. So what's guidelines? These are the parameters. Here are the restrictions. Here are the potential pitfalls. Now, micromanagers tend to be really heavy on this. If you've ever had a manager that delegated something to you and they said, and you need to do this, and you need to do this, and it has to do this, and you're like, oh my goodness, why didn't you just do it yourself? Like, you're giving me so much, because they're so picky about everything. No, it just needs the general guidelines. Okay, it should be as few as possible to avoid micromanagement. So, okay, so if I were to give guidelines to somebody to create prizes or giveaways, what are those guidelines? Okay, how much should they cost? All right, make it no more than $10. All right, what if they get some prizes that we really don't want to give out? Maybe you could share them. Okay, avoid these things, avoid XYZ prizes, because when we did it last time, we got a lot of negative feedback. So I wouldn't choose those prices, right? What are other guidelines? Hey, we need you to order them by X date, because if we don't have them by that date, we may not get them in time, right? So do you see, now we're starting to get the guidelines. Most people, when they delegate, they forget to think about all the guidelines. So now when you're doing this, you're going to help remember, okay, I need to give them all the parameters, restrictions, and pitfalls. All right. Next, wrappers give rhymes. Now it's resources. What are all the resources to help them? Now, there could be human resources, meaning people, financial, here's money, here's technical, this is how you need to do it, organizational, you need to contact this people. So in this example is, okay, to get these prizes or giveaways, here are our contact information of the past vendors, right? Now you have the information that you need, right? Oh, if you're going to purchase it, here's the credit card that you need in order to make these purchases, okay? In terms of people resources, if you have any questions, come reach out to me, right? I'll help and guide you if anything that I haven't filled in already. So now we're giving the resources to them. Now, rappers give rhymes, attitude, now that's for accountability. Now, this is where most people mess up or forget. What they have to assume is, this is my assumption, people are going to fail and they're going to mess up, they're going to forget. So I build into systems ways like safety nets for them to mess up. So how does that look like? So even if I needed it by X date, do you think I'm going to have a check-in meeting on that X date and then rush last minute if they forgot to do it? No, I'm going to have a check-in meeting much before to see their status on that. And hopefully they can accomplish it, but I'm already anticipating a buffer that if they didn't do it, I have enough time to check in. Okay, so how did it go with that vendor? Oh my goodness, did you know that the vendor was out of, stock of all the things that we wanted? Oh, I didn't know that. All right, that means you have to find a new vendor. Did you get another contact? No. Well, I'm glad that we had this checking meeting because let me give you access to these other resources because people love to wait to the last minute, to the deadline to get something done. Why do you think managers have check-in and weekly meetings with their staff or team members? Is because they know that that weekly meeting has this internal pressure to get them to do stuff, right? And so that will motivate them. But you've already built in a place that they're going to fail, but at least you catch it in time. All right. Here is the last one. Rappers give rhymes, attitude, and color, consequences. So many times people think of the word consequences as something very negative. Ooh, this is going to be bad consequences. No, consequences can actually be really good, right? What happens if we do this right? So in this example, we'd say this event is really important because if we do this event so well, this is going to help us with our brand and recognition on the campus or for the company. If the prizes are not within, acquired within the budget, well, you know what? Guess what's going to happen? We're not going to have any money for other future events. So you're starting to make, I would call it an emotional plea on why they should take this really seriously, right? If our prizes aren't ordered on time, guess what's going to happen? We're not going to have anything to give away, and we're putting it on the marketing materials, and it would have a negative experience on our event. So you see, and then the last one right here, if the event is successful, guess what? I can trust you to do future events and do more events like this. Now, some people might say, could I also put it in the negative way? Listen, if you don't do this, then I'm not going to trust you to handle any more future events. I would say, yes, you could, but my recommendation is to avoid that. I would always argue it on the positive because you should actually give a person a reputation to live up to. I'm going to give you a perfect example, right? I had a team member. Okay, we had to process invitations for this leadership organization, and they had to submit all the information. And they were very outgoing, very extroverted, and guess where they were weak? On the details, right? Being very conscientious. And he would just put in these checklists, and I would review them all time, and they would all have all these mistakes. And in my old leadership method, I would get mad at him. I would get mad at him. Why can't he do this? I've already shared with him, all this stuff on what he's supposed to do and how he's supposed to do it. I would, in the past, tell my manager, there's something wrong with this employee. He just lacks the skills of what we need to do. But like I shared with you, this is not my first rodeo. I've done a lot of different leadership courses, and guess what? That's demotivating. And what I discovered is what I'm sharing with you now is frame it in the positive because it's like I then had a sit down conversation with him. I said, "Hey, I think you're really good at this, and this is what you're really good at, right? However, this one task, it's been a struggle, but I believe in you that you can actually do this task." Okay, let me share with you what I do to make sure that I do this task on time. Double check it, triple check it. I don't submit it the same day. I send it the next day so I have another chance to review it. I believe in you. Can I count on you to actually submit a checklist without any errors? You know, and guess what he says? Yes, I can do it. See, now I was motivating him instead of putting him in the box. And that's what a lot of times managers do. They put you in a box and you always stay there. This training is about leadership development. We're taking people out of boxes, okay? And guess what? Anytime he did a positive thing, hey, I would compliment him. Oh my goodness, you did it. There was this 100%, no errors. Thanks so much. You did such a great job. And that made them feel good. And what if they did mess up? I would say, hey, you know what? You got it. You had this one thing. I know I can count on you to do it better next time. All right, thanks so much. Like, give them that positive reputation to live up to. Okay, I see it, Parsh. All we need is someone to believe in us. It makes so much difference. Just one person, right? And by the way, I've had a lot of managers, some not so good, some a little better. I wish I had better managers, but why did I create Alexa Society? I really wanted to help other people to become leaders and better managers. Okay. So it's task time. All right, you now know what stewardship delegation is. What are the results? What are the guidelines? What are the resources? How can I have accountability and the consequences? So now we're going to do this little quick task. Okay, can you think of a time you've ever given a task to somebody? Okay, and imagine you gave them a task and it just wasn't done, and you were either very frustrated. If you can't think of an old task that you ever assigned to one, what I like to invite you to do is think about a task that you would love to delegate to somebody else. Okay. Now, what I want you to do is pretend that you were sending out an email to that person, that they said, okay, I'll do the task. And now you need to give them that task following stewardship delegation. So, what is the result that you want? What are the guidelines that you want to give them? The parameters, limit, what pitfalls, what to avoid? Resources, human capital, like etc. What is the accountability? What is that system you're going to put in place to make sure they do it? And what would be the positive or negative consequences if they do it? Okay, I'm going to give you about, I would say, 4 minutes. I would just like you to write it down as if you're writing an email, and we'll do that right now. And if you're done, put in the chat you're done, because if everyone finishes before 4 minutes, we can continue on. All right, I'm going to set my timer. Ready? Let's go. Two-minute mark. 2 more minutes left. Post in the chat if you're complete. All right, everybody seems to be finishing and the done. I'm going to give you 30 more seconds to wrap up for those who haven't done it. So I'm going to ask those folks that are done to be my brave volunteers and who like to volunteer and share what task they wanted to delegate. Feel free to raise your digital hand. 15 more seconds. 5, 4, 3, two, and one. Time. Okay. Is there anybody who wants to share what their task was? I'm really curious to see if you delegated a task in the past and they didn't do it. And now, as a result of doing the stewardship delegation, are you kind of kicking yourself in the butt? You're like, oh, I kind of wish I knew this before. Who'd here like to share? Raise your digital hand. I'd love for you to share your feedback. Oh, Nadia, you were the first person to raise your hand. Go ahead. I saw you nodding your head. Like, what happened to you?
I am because I was making a flyer for an event, and like what happened was um it had to be redone because some stuff didn't come out right, like some stuff didn't come out right with the time and the date, and I saw it like, and I was like, oh my God, this has to be redone. And luckily we got it redone in time. But now that I see this, if I would have given the guidelines ahead of time. Make
Mhm.
sure you check the time, make sure you check the date, make it eye-catching, put the collaboration. I would have spelled that out.
Yep.
I would
Yep.
have known to spell, I would have spelled that out more effectively rather than just like leave it to the assume that the person understood to
Absolutely. And so here's the our problem. We are blinded by our own blind spots. We think that this is self-explanatory, but most of the world does not know exactly what we're thinking, right? Or have our same experience. So that's why if we could just take a little time. Now, in my beginning of my career, when I learned about stewardship delegation, sometimes things are happening where it's like you need to delegate a task for somebody, and you're like, okay, I'm in a meeting. Hey, John, hey, Mary, can you please take care of that? Yes, awesome. Can we connect offline so that I can make sure that you have everything that you need to complete that task? That's what we forget. And what I needed to do, because this was out of my comfort zone, to really think about all these things through, because you can't really do it on the fly. That's why I love the idea of the practice delegation by first pretending as if you're writing out an email. Because when you actually take the time to do that, you then think about all those things. So thanks so much, Nadia, for sharing that. And we'll give one final comment. Simone Hendricks, if I had pronounced your name correctly, go ahead. I'd love to hear what you wrote down as your stewardship delegation activity.
So, I currently work for the Department of Education,
Hmm.
and a task that ended up having to be delegated was we found me and another coworker found out we were volunteered to
Hmm.
cover a task.
You mean voluntold,
Yes,
right?
really, like, yeah. And so, for me, I hate being voluntold. So the way I take like the power back is trying to figure out how can we make it like work within the
Yeah.
personality of the teammate that I work with.
Yeah.
And so a task we were given was registering students under 21. So
Hmm.
our students had to be registered a totally different way than our over 21 students.
Hmm.
And we noticed that when we weren't present at work because we are allowed to work remotely,
Yeah.
um, the other staff member would say, like, because the process was different, would automatically be like, oh, we just don't want to do it. It'd be very adverse. So something I thought about doing was creating an actual step-by-step like
Mm.
paper that
Yeah.
went with the applications as well as in an email, so
Yeah.
that if you wasn't sure, hey, this is your step by step, and up to this point, if you're still not sure, you could just leave it on my desk. I'll handle it from this portion.
Wow.
So like knowing this though, like if I had knew this prior to, I probably would have asked people if there was anything they was uncomfortable with, and then maybe help them like walk through the process first
Yeah.
prior to giving maybe written directions, because reading it versus doing it is a totally different like feeling.
Well, I'm so glad that you mentioned that. And this is for all folks. If you ever have to do training and stuff like that, I had when I was working at NSLS, I had like different hats that I had to wear. Every time I did the role, there was no procedural manual. I had to create it from scratch. But because I was committed to accuracy, I was conscientious. Guess what? I found myself developing my own procedural manual, what in the corporate world they call it SOPs, or standard operating procedures, because it's wastes so much time to and mistakes if you don't have those guidelines. And here's the mistake that we often find is, and because I did this work with Landmark Worldwide that I was sharing all with you, people don't learn through hearing. They only learn through doing. So why do you think I had you do this exercise? Because I could have ended this presentation. Hey, this is stewardship delegation. Some of you would have just remembered, oh yeah, I'll just remember the guidelines. But because you actually did it yourself, then you're going to retain it more. It's called transformational learning. So whenever I do training for Simone, I love the idea of procedural manuals, but I basically say, I'm going to show you how to do it, but now I'm going to stand by your side and I'm going to watch you do it, right? And then as you're going through it yourself, right? Now I'm really learning, right? And also I wanted to bring up another issue because you were voluntold something, Simone. We sometimes have a lot of managers who, guess what? They don't have these skills. All of you are here are committed to your own growth and development, so I applaud you for being here, right? And you're learning about this to be better leaders, better managers. But you're going to have to report to people, I'm sorry, suck at management. I don't know what else to tell you. So, what do you do when they're not delegating to you effectively? Guess what? You reverse it. Okay. So, I've had bosses when I was used to work in government, I had a council person, and he would delegate me and he would relish in not giving me the details because he wanted to see whether I would do it or not and how much direction I would get. And he kind of enjoyed it, like a little bit cynical, like a little bit mean, right? But listen, I've had my share of bosses. But here's what you can do. It's called reverse management. So they've assigned you a task. Okay, they want me to do this whole program or log these students in. Okay, what is the clear result that I want or what I'm supposed to do? So you would say, hey boss, can I ask you a couple questions before I do this task? If they're stressed, like just do it. I don't care about it. Just get it done. I'll circle back to you a little bit later because I want to make sure you frame it in this way. I just want to make sure that I do everything in the term of your vision so that it's executed quickly, right? So you can play that ego game when you're dealing with some difficult managers. When there's a calm time, you ask them. So this is what I understand is the clear result that you want. Is this correct? Yes. All right. Can I also ask you? Are there any pitfalls or any other guidelines that you want me to give me so that I don't make the mistake? Something that you definitely don't want me to do or whatever. Oh, yeah, yeah, don't do that. Okay. Um, okay, do I have the human resources? Hey, just quick question. Who should I contact if I have questions about this? Or, oh, yeah, yeah, go contact that person. Hey, I know that it's due next Friday, but do you think we could have a quick check-in meeting so I can show you my initial results to see if that I'm on the right page with you? Just because if there's anything that you want me to change, I'll make sure that I get it before that deadline. Yeah, 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 sure, sure, go ahead. And then the consequences, you don't need to know about that because you're not asking them, can you tell me how good I am if I do this right? Or can you tell me how bad I am if I don't do this right? You don't need to do that or how it's good for the organization. But at least if you do the first four, you're being a reverse manager. You're helping to get those answers when you're dealing with big egos. I hope that's very helpful for both you, Simone, and everybody else who's listening. Okay, awesome. Let's keep going. Now, let's jump into leadership, my favorite topic. Okay. Now, I'd love for you to share in the chat. There's so many different qualities of being leader. Which one do you think is the most important? And again, there's no right or wrong answer. I'm going to share with you what I think is the most important leadership quality. All of these are valuable. What do you think it is? Put in the chat. Feel free to raise your hand. Share with me what you think it is. All right. Emma. Okay. Well, let me read these as they're coming. Hold on. Boom, boom, boom. So right here in the chat, I see, there's a lot of good ones. Simone is accountability. Emma's initiative. Vanessa says integrity. Jacob, communication and listening, definitely. Integrity appears twice. Flexibility, humility. Thank you, Nakisha, if I'm pronouncing your name correctly. Determination. Integrity. Responsibility, easy to talk to, low tempered. Communication, curiosity, integrity, empathy, servant leadership, honest in communication, transparency, all the above. Agreed, all the above. But guess what? My favorite, all of you guys, to me, were spot on because what I learned is the most important leadership quality is this. It's actually integrity, right? Again, thank you for trustworthiness, resilience, Daniel and Jana, if I pronounce your name correctly. Now, here's what I learned. This is just one definition of integrity. Somebody who's honest or moral, the quality of being strong moral principles, moral uprightness. But did you know that I shared with you my leadership journey continued where I took advanced courses in leadership, and guess what I found out? there is another definition of leadership. Excuse me, there's another definition of integrity. And do you know what it is? Here's what it is. Integrity is doing something complete, right? The quality of being whole, sound, and complete, undivided, and unimpaired. Now, why is this so important, right? Because when we think of integrity, we always, oh, that person's just a moral, good person, right? They just do what's right. Even when nobody's looking. But no, does a table have integrity? Well, if it's missing a leg and the moment you put something on top and it falls down, that doesn't have integrity. If you have a bike and some of the spokes are missing the wheel and you start riding the bike and it starts bending, the wheel doesn't have integrity. So guess what? People don't have integrity. And so I love this cartoon that I found. It says, look on the newspaper, it says, voters demand integrity from the election system. What does that mean? The integrity of an election system is we have this expectation when we vote that whenever I vote for a person, that's going to be counted. I have that expectation. A system that's integrous is whole and complete, right? And then I love what this woman says. Who knows? Maybe someday we'll demand it from the people we put in office, right? Ooh, burn, right? Just because how many times do we know? Again, this is not meant to be a political presentation, but whatever leaders, managers, politicians, they say, oh, we'll do this, and then suddenly they don't do whatever they say that they're going to do, right? And I don't mind somebody who changes their perspective or changes their ideas, but tell me why, what happened, what did you promise, what did you say, why didn't you do it, what do you plan to do differently? That's the integrity that I'm talking about. So how does it work when it comes to leaders and integrity? Remember how I shared with all of you, I took advanced leadership courses with Landmark Worldwide? Well, in that 4 month, the first program that they did, it was called like Landmark Forum, and it was like a 2 day thing, all day Saturday, Sunday, and partially on Monday. Guess what was the first thing that they talked about? Integrity. But it wasn't until I did the 4 month leadership course, guess what? They said integrity is not just one thing, it's a whole bunch of things. And I couldn't remember all the different ways. So for those of you who are non-traditional students, remember the disc jockey Casey Kasem, right? Yeah, he was top 140s, when the ball dropped, all that kind of stuff. So I remember Kasem, KSCEM, because it kind of sounds like Kasem, plus T or plus time. So here's what integrity is. Integrity is doing what you know to do, doing what you said you would do, doing a job completely, doing a job as it was expected to be done, doing a job as it was meant to be done, and doing it on time. Whoa, mic drop, So if you're operating as an executive leader, how would you feel if the CEO or the president of your nonprofit sent you an email? Hey, everybody, I'm so sorry. My life has been very busy and I forgot to sign all your checks for your paychecks this week. They will be going out next week. So sorry. Thanks so much. Whoa, that's a lack of integrity. This is what was expected to be done, meant to be done. The higher you get in terms of levels of leadership, the bigger the deal is when you break your integrity. And so this opened up a whole new world for me. So I'll give you an example. And this is a cute little funny one in my relationship. I have to do the dishes in my household. Okay, my wife does different things, I do different things, and I hate doing dishes, as this cat's face demonstrates. All right, so guess what I would do? The dishes would pile up in the sink, and my wife would get frustrated because she would go to the sink and there were all the dishes. I'm like, all right, I'll do the dishes. And guess what? We have a dishwasher. All I have to do is scrub it off and then put them in the dishwasher. But guess what? There were so many dishes that piled up that the dishwasher was full. And guess what I did? Uh-oh, guess the dishwasher is full. I can't fit any more dishes. I guess I have to leave these in the sink. Whoa, it wasn't until I learned about this leadership and integrity. It's like, wait a minute, integrity is doing what you're Kasem, doing what you know to do, doing what you said you would do, doing it, doing it completely as it was expected to be done, meant to be done in time. Is it expected that there's supposed to be dirty dishes in the sink? No, it's supposed to be clean, even if the dishwasher is full, right? And so this upped my game, because imagine if the whole world was operating integrity with everything what you're doing. I remember I actually was a high executive leader within this leadership organization, and I had a boss that she says, Tim, don't forget the timesheets. And I'm like, the timesheets are fine. Like, it's not important. And I'm dealing with so other bigger issues that it's not a priority. And I ended up having a big clash with my manager, right? Over these silly, stupid timesheets. And I was so mad. I'm like, I've been working under other manager and they didn't really care about this. And why are you making a big deal? And I'm like, wait a minute, my ego is at play. If I am integrity, am I supposed to be doing the timesheets? Yes, I am. Are they meant to be done on time? Yes, they are. There's expected. Am I doing them completely? I was postponing it. And so once I discovered that, it's like, oof, I have to, restore my integrity. I'm out of integrity. And this showed up in other areas of my life. I'll give you other silly example. Whenever we bought furniture from IKEA, has anybody ever bought furniture from IKEA? Like, they're very pretty. You have to set it up with the tools. My wife asked me, Tim, set up the bookshelf, create it. And so I do it. And guess what I did? Ha ha, I'm done. I set up the bookshelf and I would leave a mess everywhere. And my wife would, like clean it up. And she's like, Tim, what's all this stuff? I'm like, I did the bookshelf. And I'm like, wait a minute. When you build the bookshelf, is the job complete if you just leave all the crap or out of there? No, it's not complete. It's expected that you clean up after yourself. So this shows up every single thing that you do, right? I love it. So IKEA furniture is a two-person job. Yes, in some cases it isn't. So what ends up happening is, can you be integrity with all the areas of your life? I'm telling you, if you're playing big games, okay, and what do I mean by that? If you're taking on more challenges, more responsibility, it is very difficult, very, very difficult to be integrity all the time. And you can't always do it. But even though you can't always be a perfect in integrity, guess what you can do? You can always restore integrity. So now here's remember how I promised you at this presentation what to do when you screw up? It's Have you ever gone to a job and you've ever had a team member and they don't do what they need to do, and then they start telling you all their sob stories on why they couldn't complete it? And if you're a manager like me, I've heard all the sob stories. I just drives me crazy, like I don't want to hear it, all the different reasons why. All I really want as an executive leader is just to say, hey, boss, you expected me to be at work at 9 o'clock. I was at 9:10. I apologize. What is the new system I'm going to put in place, the new action step, so that this never happens again? Instead of leaving my house at half an hour earlier, I'm going to leave an hour earlier, so anticipate buffer some traffic. Just wanted to let you know. Well, as a manager, what else am I going to say? I'm going to be speechless. Thank you. Got it. Good. And I'm going to move on. This is what people need to do when they restore integrity or screw up. You're always going to screw up. And guess what happens when you do? Sometimes we're out of integrity, right? We haven't done, we've maybe taken on, overcommitted ourselves. How many of you on this call have like, oh my goodness, I promised this person to send this and I have to do this, and your to-do list is so long and you're owing so many people stuff. Guess the first thing that you could do to relieve that stress? Restore integrity with that person. Hey, John. Hey, Jane. I know that I promised to get you to this by Monday. It's now Monday evening. I just want to let you know I'm so sorry. Moving forward, I'm going to give myself a bigger buffer or deadline, so I allocate more time so that this doesn't happen again. I will now deliver to you by Wednesday. Guess what you did? It was almost like a bunch of weight was on your chest, and the moment you restore integrity and let that person know and that you have a new system, it's like you remove that weight. You start to breathe again. You feel free again. Okay. In my leadership courses that I would take, we used to do this for all the areas of your life. Where do you need to restore integrity? Right. And the moment you do, even just writing down the list where you're out of integrity, it's a game changer, right? You start writing, oh my goodness, I promised to do this for my mother. I promised to do this. First thing you do, hey, I'm so sorry I didn't do that, right? Now, let's talk about systems. What are the systems that really can put in place so that we can be more integrity? I'll tell you what they are. There's a lot of different systems in place, but I'm going to boil it down to three for all of you folks. Okay. The first one is a calendar. Okay. I have a motto that I live by the calendar and I die by the calendar. I tell my wife, if your birthday or our anniversary isn't on my calendar, I'm sorry, it doesn't exist, and she laughs, but it's so true because the moment that I commit to this system, anytime I have a hangout, my wife, what does my wife ask me? Hey, Tim, is it on your calendar? Because she knows that if it's not there, I'm going to shove something else on there, right? And so, oh, it's on there. Let's do it right now. And I put it on there. I used to do a handwritten calendar. I've now become a fan of Google Calendar just because I have my phone and I can carry it anyway. But whatever calendar system that works for you, it doesn't matter to me. I just find it easier if you're at your phone and you don't have your hand planner around. Um, Now, some people may say, well, Tim, isn't that suffocating, right? Like to kind of live by the calendar. No, it's actually freeing because the moment that I live by the calendar, die by the calendar, the moment I want to have time either with my wife or my family, I block off the whole calendar so nobody can ever schedule anything on it. And so I treat my calendar like a Tetris jigsaw puzzle. And the moment somebody asks me for something, I'm like, okay, where's it going to fit on the calendar? If it doesn't, I'm going to let you know it's going to be done a month from now. So that's how I control and have some ownership. The second thing that I do is I live by alarms. Okay. Every day I start in the morning. How would it be if we had this training and I showed up late, right? I'm talking about integrity. How do I keep managing my time? I start off with my day and show all my appointments, and I ask my phone, SIRI. I'm not going to say the name because I don't want to wake her up, but I say, set an alarm for this time, 5 minutes before a meeting, 2 minutes before a meeting. Because if you're like me, have you ever written an email and then suddenly got carried away? You're like, oh my goodness, where'd the time go? It's like, oh man, I'm late to that thing. You are not a robot. Okay. And so you need outside systems to ensure that you are held accountable. So just today, I set like over 5 alarms for myself to keep me on track. If you're playing big games and you have a lot of responsibilities, it's the only way that I have found that really makes a difference, right? I like what you said, Jacob. On time is late, right? Before on time, if you're before the meeting, then it's early, right? I love using shared calendars, so that's helpful too. Yes, great suggestion, Carmen. So what's the last tip to be in integrity, right? I would say it's the buffers. We don't plan enough buffers for unanticipated time. We don't block enough time, right? We always want to make our calendar available. But here's my rule. However long you think it takes, just double it, right? Like, for example, yes, my commute to my work would be half an hour or whatever it is, but that's not anticipating traffic or some emergency. So assume that your traffic is an hour. So your commute is an hour long. It's not a half an hour. And if any of college students would know this because they said, oh, I'll just write my paper the night before it's due. I just need about 6 hours and I will finish the paper. Guess what happens? You start writing the paper and then you get a phone call. Then you get hungry. You're starting to write it. And then, oh, I need a reference for that. So yes, in a perfect ideal world, it would have taken 6 hours, but you're not being realistic with your time management. You didn't anticipate all these interruptions and all these other things. So your job is you have to anticipate the buffers so that and block off that time to make sure that it's done. If you do those three things, I'm telling you, you're going to have a much better chance of being integrity with your time. Okay. So let's keep going. So we recap. What have we covered so far? Why do people avoid delegation? It's because they have a fear that it's not going to be done. They're perfectionists. They want it done fast, quick, and they have limited resources. But now, if you follow stewardship delegation, we'll give you results, guidelines, resources, accountability, and consequences. Wrappers give rhymes, attitude, and color. Now you will always have whatever you need to give proper instructions to somebody who needs it, right? The benefits of stewardship delegation, it's ownership. You want to give them a sense of ownership that they're doing this task, that it's all upon them, right? Not that they're alone, but they're the ones that are responsible for it. You're not trying to micromanage them because nobody likes that. If they're new employees or they're new to it, they may need more hand holding, right? That has to do with situational leadership. And there's a management style that was created by Ken Blanchard. But the newer they are, the more hand holding, the more guidelines, the more procedures you may need to be provided. But as they grow in their experience, the less micromanagement that you need, right? It's all about developing trust, the most important human element that makes us feel really good. Minimize failure, right, by holding those accountability meetings. And then finally, we want to train future leaders because we can't do this all ourselves. Okay. So, well, we talked about the number one leadership quality was integrity, honesty, but it's being complete. That's the definition that most people don't forget. Remember, Casey Kasem plus time, right? Do what you know to do what you said you were going to do it completely as it was expected to be done, meant to be done, and on time. And you can't always be in integrity with your word, with your actions, but you can always restore integrity. And restoring integrity is apologizing for the commitment that you broke and not giving all the reasons why you didn't do it. They just want to hear what systems you'll put in place so that it doesn't happen again in the future. And guess what? I want to share you this one story. I remember working with coaches, and they would yell at us if we showed up more than like 30 seconds later. Like if the meeting was at 4 o'clock at 4:01, I had coaches that basically said, "Okay, Tim, time to restore your integrity. It's 4:01. It's 1 minute over our 4 o'clock meeting." And I'm like, "Are you serious?" And they're like, "Yeah, it was that intense." And so it would always come back to calendar. Was it in your calendar? Do you set an alarm? And I said, "Hey, but coach, I set an alarm. It was 5 minutes." And then the question would always follow up by my coach and say, "Yes, but the system that you put in place, you did put that system in. You did set an alarm, but was it successful? Did it work?" And the answer was no. And so his follow up question is, "Well, what new system do you have to put in place?" Well, maybe I need a 2 minute alarm. Maybe I need a 1 minute alarm. Maybe a 5 minute alarm is not enough. So that's the new system I'm putting in place. So do you see? It keeps going. It keeps going. So at this point, I would love to take any questions. I would love your feedback. We're a little bit early, and I actually have some bonus material that I'd love to share with you because I anticipated that we might have some more time. So for me, what kind of questions you have? Feel free to put it in the chat, raise your digital hand. I'd love to answer them. Anybody have any questions?
I think somebody did ask if the slides will be shared after the presentation. Tim, I think you're muted.
Yeah, thank you. If you actually complete this survey and I get your feedback, you're more than you will get the thank you page of this Google survey will actually have that available for you. Like you'll see a thank you page for your feedback, and it will be a hyperlink to download a PDF of this whole PowerPoint. Okay. Also, Rishma also has a copy of it and the PDF as well. For some reason, if something you couldn't get access to it. Okay. So I'm just reading some of the questions. I found this this is from Harmony. Thanks so much, Harmony. I found this interesting, especially stewardship delegation. It shifts the mindset from can this person handle it to how can I set them up for success. So true. Thanks so much, Harmony. It treats people with capable, resourceful, trustworthy leaders while still providing the scaffolding they may need. 100%. Vanessa, you had a question. Do you have any tips for me in regards to being consistent with calendar after never using one to plan or keep myself accountable? So here's what I would do. For me, if what I did is I started off with a handwritten calendar, but if you can, I would actually, my recommendation or invitation is only do what really works well for me. If you've never used a calendar before, fall in love with Google Calendar. Why? Because that means it's the easiest to use and anywhere you go. And technology is always going to be with us. And if you can utilize the technology to be more efficient, then that's the beneficial thing that I would start off with. If you're not used to checking your calendar all the time on your phone or whatever it is, you may go back to what we just said before. Systems, use the calendar, set in alarms, like create buffers. If you're not checking your calendar, well, can you actually set alarms for you to check in the calendar? Like maybe it's like, I don't like looking at my calendar every single second. I like to be in the moment. Well, can we set an alarm to check your calendar the first thing in the morning? Can we check it midday or in the afternoon, right? Like schedule time to review your calendar. And remember, everything should be baby steps. And what do I mean by that? Whenever you're developing a new habit, the biggest challenge is we make a new habit insurmountable. We turn a habit into Mount Everest. Oh, that's so high. I'm never going to climb Mount Everest. It's like, can we start off with a little hill like on your street first? Can you at least make it up for that? So if you create the baby step that's so small, hey, you know what? I'm just going to look at my calendar once in the morning every day. I'm going to set an alarm for my phone every time at this, and I'll just check it. And sometimes the alarm will go off, you'll snooze it. Other times you'll check the alarm and you'll look at your calendar. That's a victory, right? It's always celebrate the little baby step, because through the compounding effect of you, those small little baby steps, it's the same thing like working out. It's like, oh man, those people are so muscular. Like, how do I get to that level? Well, people expect it to, if I go to the gym tomorrow, that I'm going to look like that. No, it's just the if you could do 5 minutes a day, could you just do that? Maybe then move on to doing 30 minutes a day. But people don't even start with the 5 minute or 1 minute exercise. So I hope that's helpful for you. Um, let's see. Thanks, Vanessa. Set an alarm, check my calendar. I struggle with buffering because I underestimate the time. Do you have any tips for this? Yes, absolutely. So I will always say double everything. Like, so for example, how long does it take you to do an email? Well, maybe 50 minutes. No, it's going to take you half an hour. Okay. How long does it take for me to check those reports out and do them? Well, if I'm operating very clear, like completely focused, I'll do them an hour. But you don't anticipate that. You double it. Okay, it's going to take me 2 hours, because what you have not countered into all your responsibilities is all the little distractions that pop in the day that prevent you from doing what you need to do, right? So we suck at estimating how things long that your take. And so by you just doubling it and blocking it on and putting in your calendar, you'll set yourself up for more success. And if you find out that that system is not working, well, remember, this is adaptive. So every time it's not working, try a new system. You experiment. This is your life, not mine. I'm just using the tools that have worked for me over the years to be an executive leader. But use what works, reject what doesn't. Keep trying till you find out what works for you. All right, awesome.
Thank you.
Easy wins. Let's see what else. Do your calendar personal engagements along with work, or do you calendar it separately? I personally have. I'm so glad you asked this question, Nicole. In my life, when I used to work at NSLS, I made my personal calendar my work calendar, because I just couldn't stand it to actually handle everything on two different calendars, right? But here's what I love about Google, right? I now have a work calendar and I have my personal calendar. And sometimes in my Google app on my phone, when I click in my calendar, it says you have more than one email or Gmail account. Guess what you can do? It shows both calendars all in one. Or I can check my email, do both of your inboxes. So I do believe in having them separate. And if there was a case where it depends on people who feel comfortable on whether they put personal stuff on their work calendars. There may be frowned upon. You have to go based on your policies of your work. But if something's so important, I may just do my work calendar, and I may just invite, like, when you add a person to the meeting, I'll add my personal calendar. Or I'm doing the same thing. I'm doing an event that's important on my personal calendar. Let me add my work calendar, because I want it on both places, just to be sure that I don't see it. Now, some people have work calendars that they're like, but Tim, what about privacy? There are different settings where anyone else at your company or job, if they look at your calendar, it could actually show what you've done, or you can actually do it as busy. Like they'll just show the word busy, so you'll have that privacy. I've never done that because I'm not doing anything so secretive that I don't care if my coworkers know that I'm doing something, because I'm very transparent. But that's up to you. So I hope those are helpful for you. Managing up was very helpful. Any tips for navigating how to delegate parts of a whole collaborative tasks? All right, Lauren, that's an interesting question. So, yeah, managing up is very important. But now, when you're doing delegating parts of the whole, meaning I don't need you to take on this whole project. I just need to take you on just different collaborative aspects. All right, so let me take a swig of water and then I'll answer that. Okay, so I do another training all about personality types and management styles. Let Rishma know if you love this training, have me back for our future one. And so one of the different styles are the different types of leaders according to different personality assessments. Ones are dominance, right? Those tend to be people who are very action oriented and assertive. Those tend to be a lot of managers. Why? They get tasks done so quickly that they get promoted very quickly. But oftentimes, those individuals, I've had so many of them, they suck, forgive my language, at people skills, like, tact and diplomacy, because it's all about getting it done and they'll bulldoze people, right? Some of you know those managers, right? I've had them. So what do you do is what I always want to remind those people about is nobody voted you dictator for life. Okay. So it's like, just because you have a team and you're the leader, and it'd be just so much easier if you delegate tasks. Hey, can you do this? Give the people autonomy to choose whether they want to do a task or not. So nobody voted you dictator. So if I'm the leader of the group, I have to humble myself that says, hey, everybody, here are these different tasks. Who here would like to take on this task? And I first give an opportunity for a collaborative to people to selectively choose themselves before they do that task. Now, here's what's going to happen. Everyone's going to touch their nose, right? Like, not me, not me, not me, And so then when you don't have anybody, most people would say, oh, I guess I'll have to do it myself because no one volunteered. No, no. You then ask somebody who you believe has the skills that you think, hey, John, hey, Mohammed, hey, Teresa, would you be so kind to do this task? And the reason why I'm asking you to do it is because you have experience in X, Y, and Z. So I think that you'd be a really good fit for it. Would you be open to that? Right? So now I went from asking the group, no one volunteered. Now I'm asking an individual person, I'm giving the reason why. Chances are 99% of the time they'll say yes and they'll do it. Okay, and then let's talk offline. So that's how I would work collaboratively. I hope that's helpful, Lauren. Now, Wanda raised her hand. So, Wanda, feel free to unmute yourself. I'd love to hear your question or comment.
Okay, well, I have two. I want to
Okay.
just let you know that I really enjoyed your presentation. You
Oh,
hit
thank you.
points that I will definitely be using, so thank you.
You're welcome. Thank
But
you.
I have a comment and a question.
Sure.
I work in a team where the people seem to be all perfectionists. And
Yes, they're difficult. I'm a perfectionist, so I know how difficult I can be.
yes, and so I notice like sometimes I have ideas and I share them, but then I always end up getting a task.
Wait,
Of
wait, attacked or a task?
a task. They assign something to me because I made an idea and it sounds good. And they're like, oh, would you like to take on this task and give a presentation on of the suggestion that you've made? That happened to me at a quarterly meeting. I had to do a presentation on ethics in the workplace.
Uh-huh.
I had shared with my direct manager that was my course and how much I loved it. And
Yeah.
so the quarterly meeting was, I suggested, why don't we discuss ethics in the workplace? And so I got to do a presentation on it. But sometimes I like to make suggestions. That does not mean I want to take on an additional task.
All right, great comment. Now, I'm going to help you, right? First of all, I love that you're an idea person, right? And if we were doing personality assessments, I think I might figure out which personality type you are, right? Because you're that supportive excitement, like let's do these ideas. But right, they basically did some Jeet Kune Do. Oh no, you want an idea? You're gonna do it. And so it's almost like, man, maybe I should never volunteer a good idea because they're gonna always make me do it. Here's what I always wanted to remind people, and this is what I learned in my leadership courses and stuff like that. Always respect the autonomy of people, right? And number two, it's this, and this is a game changer. You didn't think that you were taking a leadership training like, oh, to help us with a career. This is going to help us in relationships. Okay, ready for those folks who have some conflict? You can make requests to anybody that you want, and they can make requests to you at any time they want. But you're not obligated to accept that request, meaning you could either accept it, you could decline it, or counter offer it. What does that mean? Hey, I really think that we should, do this ethics. And hey, Wanda, why don't you do it? Oh, thank you so much for thinking me for doing it. I would love to do it. However, I do not have the bandwidth for doing it. I have a suggestion. So you've declined it politely, professionally. Is there somebody else on the team that would love to do it? I can give them some pointers and suggestions. So now that's a counter offer. Now they say, no, how about this person does it? Or Wanda, how about you do it next month when you have more free time? Oh, well, thank you so much for that. What do? You can accept it, decline, or counter offer. Counter offer again. Thank you so much. However, I much better think that this person could do it. So, do you know that you can actually have a counter offer to a counter offer to a counter offer to counter offer? So it's like, how does this show up in the relationship? My wife, I want you to do dishes now, right now. I decline your request. I would like to do them at 5 o'clock. She could either decline or accept my request. I decline your request to do it at 5 o'clock. How about you do it at 1 o'clock? And do you see how you can go back and forth? But if there's mutual respect, you can do this dance. It's usually when the ego's involved and you want to control people, you don't like the autonomy of other people. You're like, just do what I want, right? So those would be some suggestions. And this is a tip for all the nice folks out there who like love to help people out. Wanda, I know you and I are the one of them. We're probably high on the trait agreeableness, like we just want everybody to be happy and help out. There's 4 steps to say no. Step number 1 is thank them for the request. Okay. Thank you so much for thanking me for doing this task. Step 2, decline affirmatively with no ambiguity. Okay. I definitely will not be able to perform that task. What do most people do? I don't think so. I'm not sure. I guess what that says to the other person. Convince me to do it, right? So thank them, decline affirmatively, no ambiguity. Number 3, give them the reason why. Okay, the reason why I cannot perform this task is X, Y, and Z. But here's where most people give up. They stop at either 1, 2, or 3. There's a step 4. How can you help that person with that request? Hey, I know that you love for me to go to the movies with you this weekend. However, I definitely thank you so much. You know, I love going to the movies with you. I definitely can't go with you. The reason why is I have an exam. I have a paper that I've assigned on my calendar to do this weekend. However, I would love to go to you next weekend. Or I would say, have you asked Teresa or Mohammed or Jane to go with you because I know maybe they might be available. So do you see how that's still comforting and still supportive of the request? However, it's not you taking that on, right? And I've even had some people who even go above and beyond, like, "Oh, do you want me to call Teresa and Mohammed for you?" Or I was like, no, no, don't take on more responsibility. Put the ball back in their court. And if they're manipulative, be careful of those people. They'll try to force you. Oh, come on, Wanda, you never come out with me. And now they're using emotion and stuff like that. Be very careful. They're not respecting your autonomy and they're trying to control you. Is that helpful, Wanda?
Oh, most definitely. And we'll be using it. Definitely. Thank you.
Wonderful, wonderful. Let's keep going. This is great stuff. Do you have any this is from Jana, if I pronounce your name correctly. Janae. Do you have any tips for delegating to higher ups? It's rare, but a project manager at times we have to delegate to those who with her more experience or with higher title. Ooh, that's a juicy one, right? Like, how do I get my boss to do this and stuff like that? Well, here's how where my first go to do that is you can make a request, right? And then use what I just shared with Wanda as a good thing. Hey, boss, hey, manager, I have a request. Could you please do X, Y, and Z task? And the reason why I'm asking you is because you have all this different experience and you would be a bit fit and you could do it quicker and faster. And I think that you would be the best fit for this. Now, goes back to what we said. Do you have autonomy? It's your boss. They could either say, okay, yes, I can do it. They can say no, or they can give a counter offer, right? So what if they say, no, I don't have time for this, you know? And so now you're in a position. Does this mean you have to do it? Or like, now what do you do? So it could be, listen, I know that you would want me to do this, but I don't feel comfortable doing this. These are my worries or concerns about myself doing it. And if you have a good manager and good boss, they will actually listen to you. If you have a bad manager and boss, as I would describe it, maybe they're all in their ego. Do it because I told you to do it. Like, I don't want any excuses. Use stewardship delegation to reverse manage them. Okay, fine. I can see that you do not want to do this task and you will want me to do this task. However, can we please set some time so that I can make sure that I do the task to the best of your ability, that you'll be very happy with my performance? Can we? All right. Let's go for the results. Let's give me the guidelines. Let's give me the resources. Let's give me the accountability. Let's, consequences. Like I said, you may not need that the last C. Now you're reverse managing and you're getting what you need in order to feel comfortable to doing that. Okay. That was a great question, Jana, if I pronounce your name correctly. Thanks so much. This right here is the one. All right, it's just me realizing that delegating is just me advocating for myself and asking for help for those who are responsible to assist. Absolutely. Ask for help. When I tell my team members when I was managing so many different people, I want you to feel vulnerable and comfortable with me to share with me my fears and concerns because I'm not a mind reader, right? And so I need to know that. Now, if you have a good boss, like how to know whether I should do this task or should I check my boss? Here's my litmus test. Do I feel comfortable and confident with doing this task? The moment that I don't feel comfortable or confident doing this task, that's my job to tell the manager, hey, boss, I would love to do this task. I don't feel comfortable or confident. Can you help me develop that comfort and confidence so I can do this task? That's it. So you need more handholding, you need more guidance, and that's what you should actually communicate. And listen, and if the boss says you should be able to do this, so I don't know why it is happening, it's like, whoa, all right, maybe, how to handle that. Maybe this is not the right position for you. Maybe you need a third party. Maybe you need to check in with your boss. Hey, can we have a heart-to-heart conversation? I felt really uncomfortable. I came to you as my manager because I was feeling uncomfortable and confident, and you yelled at me. Here's my request. Observing, thinking, feeling, desire. I observed this. You said this. This is what I was thinking. This is what I was feeling. And here's my request. Next time, can we please give me the instructions so I can do my job to the best of the ability? Can you please do that? They can accept your request, deny it, counteroffer it, and now you keep going. Maybe it's time for you to leave that organization. If they are not helping you with what they need and they're all ego, maybe you have to get to a third party, HR. Hey, can you help navigate this? Because I'm not feeling supported. I'm trying. And like that, see what happens. I gave you a long answer, but I hope that was helpful. I didn't know I was going to go on that tangent. All right, let's keep going. Yes, oh my God, I've experienced this as well. Thanks so much, Vanessa. First speak always gets tasked with the solution. Yeah, whenever you come to your manager or your team member or something like that, if you have trouble or lack confidence, I would say, hey, boss, I lack confidence in this one. Here's my proposed idea of what I want to do. I want to do A, B, and C. What are your thoughts? Oh, great. Exactly that. A, B, and C. And guess what you're telling your boss? Wow, I can trust this person with these tasks because they come to me. If it's a good boss, hey, I want to do A, B, and C. Oh, great thinking, but just do A and B and C. Don't do C because of X, Y, and Z reason. Okay, thanks, boss. I'm so glad I checked in with you before I did it. Boom. Now he's like, oh, I'm now teaching them. So now you're developing the trust. Okay. Terrence, I thought I was the only one with dishes example. Thanks, Terrence. Excellent. Carly or Carle, forgive me if I'm mispronouncing your name. Saying no should always be seen, should not always seen as rebellion. It's responsible communication as well as time reality check before a yes, where things crash later. Absolutely, right? I mean, notice how in that example I gave the four process of saying no. I've always heard the term no is a complete sentence. Yes, but we're dealing with teams and manager and the professional environment. We should be able to give reasons why it's a no, right? And so in those kind of cases, I do believe on giving reasons why. And then again, autonomy, request, accept, decline, counteroffer. All right. Woo, we covered a lot of questions. How are we doing on time? Well, we only have 4 minutes. All right, so I'm going to give you the bonus content in the next 4 minutes, okay? Here's what somebody didn't ask me, which I would have loved for you to ask, but it's okay. I built in some time. What if, Tim, I followed stewardship delegation, just like you said? I had a team member, I gave them the task, I was clear with the results, I gave them the guidelines, I gave them all the resources, I gave them accountability meetings and positive consequences, negative consequences. We show up to our accountability meeting, they didn't do it. And all they give me is excuses of why they couldn't do it and stuff like that, right? What do I do? How do I hold them accountable? Well, that has to deal with management, not with delegation. So I'm going to give you guys some bonus. And again, this is years of experience managing people. You have to keep it to so simple. So here's 5 simple steps, and they're not simple, right? They are steps. They're very intricate, but if you can master this, this is going to make you a better manager and team leader. Ready? Here are what they are. You delegate a task following stewardship delegation. They didn't do it. They show up to the meeting and said, hey, you know what? I didn't do it. Your job and focus of that meeting is just to do two things. My focus is empathy and getting a commitment for them. Hey, so what happened? Why didn't you do what you expected to do? So they're going to give you a reason. Some of them you're going to think is legitimate. Some of them you might think is made up, whatever. Okay, guess what I'm doing? All right, what commitment can you do moving forward? What system can you put in place to make sure this happens again? And they'll give, oh, Tim, I got it. Make sure I'll do it. I'll do X, Y, and Z. Perfect. So let's recap, right? And this is the most important for commitment. Most managers just tell a person, hey, next time, just do X, Y, and Z, okay? Got it. And they move on. Wait, but did they hear you? Did they understand it? Did they accept it? The only way to learn if they really got it is you say, okay, let's recap. So what are you going to do moving forward, right? And I've done this with managing so many people. You'd be surprised. And they'll say, I'll do X. Like, okay, you're going to do X? Yes, I will. Now, next meeting, guess what happens? But before you even next meeting, here's the next step. Step one, focus, getting commitment. You got it, verbal commitment. You send an email summary. Why? You need documentation. Sometimes people need the repetition. Depending if you're dealing with low performers, it helps. It was great talking with you today in our meeting. Here's what you did. You were supposed to do X, you didn't do it. So what you said, you're going to commit to doing Y by X date, right? Speak to you next week. You need to document where they are not performing. So you've already got their commitment. You've put it in writing. Next, what happens? Next week, oh, they fail again. Yikes, they didn't do it. Or they only did partially of what they were supposed to do. Now, here's the second meeting. Coaching and consequences. Okay, the first was empathy and commitment. The second is C&C, coaching and consequences. I assigned you a task. You didn't do it. We had a conversation. You said in verbally, and I put it in writing that you would do X, Y, and Z. You still haven't done it, right? So now we're here. What's going on? Okay. Now comes coaching. Oh, well, why didn't I have all these excuses? Okay. Here's what I need you to do. I need you to do X, Y, and Z. Are you going to be committed to doing that? Oh, yes, yes, Tim. Yes, yes, I will do that. However, this is the second time that you haven't done what you needed to do. I just want to let you know the consequences. If this happens again, we need to have another conversation because I don't believe this is the right role for you. Okay. I cannot trust that to count on you doing it moving forward, right? And you have to let them know the consequences. They need to feel the pain or fear, right? Some people think that's harsh or cold. It's no. Most people, I started with empathy. You notice that. I started with understanding, but now we're seeing a pattern, right? So consequences are this doesn't serve the organizations. This is not the right fit for the role. We're letting down our customers. We're letting down our people on what we need to do. Okay. So let's just recap. What are you going to do? I'm going to do X. No, I said we're going to do X, Y, and Z. Correct? Correct. Now, what are the consequences if you don't do X, Y, and Z? Then bad. No, what is going to happen? Then this is not the right role for me, right? I may have to step down, right? I may have to leave the position. Exactly. All right. Are you prepared? You got it? Good. Guess what? That sounds harsh, but most people who are low performers need that. They need a little zip. They need a little jolt to know the consequences, but people are terrified of saying those consequences. And notice, I didn't even say fired. I just said, maybe this is not the right role for you, right? And next step, you send a complete email summary, right? Document everything. Now, maybe if this is a low team member, maybe you need to CC the boss, or maybe you need to let the manager know, or the advisor, whomever. But you're making a paper trail of this. So if you have done all these steps, guess what's going to happen? Congratulations, 90% of the time they're going to improve. 90% of the time. But you're like, Tim, why is it 90%? What about the other 10%? The other 10% are going to either do two things. They're either going to self-select themselves out. The next meeting, they're going to say, I'm really struggling. I don't think this is the right role for me. I want to out or whatever. Or they just don't do it and they're just waiting to be fired, right? They're just waiting to be excused because they don't have the self-confidence to basically tell you, I don't have the right role for this. But guess what happens? If you started with empathy and then you went to coaching and consequences, and now you've come to this point, if you do fire them, because I've had to fire people, the best thing that happens is they're not surprised. And that's the worst thing to feel, is to be fired and people are like, I told you what to do and you didn't do it. It's like, I tried. And it's like, no, you didn't give them enough opportunity to allow for failure and growth and learning, right? But if you do all this and you do fire them, guess what's going to happen? They're not going to be mad at you because you gave them so many chances. You documented everything. They only have to look upon themselves. And now they're not going to write a negative review about your company. I hate this place. It's like, no, I gave verbally commitment of what I was going to do for Tim several times, and I still let him down. And so that's what happens. So it's time to transition that person out of the role. Make sure you have a witness. Okay. I hope that you love this bonus content. All right. I know it wasn't part of the training, but I thought it would really be helpful. So I'm just looking at the final 3 comments. Jacob, timing check-ins were not established. Absolutely. You have to have those timely check-ins. Will we get this presentation? Yes. If you filled out the survey, you'll definitely get a digital copy. You can also get a copy from Rishma. Does this work in relationships too? Yes, it definitely works in relationships in the sense that if somebody's not performing, well, listen, ooh, that's a touchy subject, right? Who's the boss in the relationship? If you have a mutual respect of a relationship, you guys are both bosses. You both respect each other's role, right? You both make requests. You don't demand things from each other. And if they're not performing, the first thing I start with empathy, understanding why. Now it comes coaching and consequences, right? It's, hey, listen, you said that you were going to do it. You're not doing it. What new system in place can you put in place so that this happens, right? Let's continue to work together. I want to be a partner with you, right? Jacob, my wife is your boss. Understood. Got it. Right. Thanks so much, everybody, for participating in the training. Thank you so much for watching this video clip about conscious leadership. If you are committed to helping to create more conscious leaders in this world, that is leaders with more humility, more integrity, more awareness, that take constructive action, then consider helping us by making a donation. Our goal is to have 600 conscious leaders develop before the end of this year. Currently, as of December 1st, we already have 400 members. And again, with your help, we can grow even further. How can you help us? Simply make a donation. If you visit buymeacoffee.com/Elective Society, you can either choose to give a monthly donation and join, and you get different access to a lot of these different membership benefits, or simply make a one-time donation. Click on the heart support button, choose 1, 3, 5, or type in any amount of coffees. Hit the support button and you can upload your card information on the secure platform. Thank you so much. I appreciate you, and let's continue our mission of building more leaders. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.